Netflix has a section of its library it barely acknowledges exists. Not the originals, not the stuff plastered across the homepage, the licensed shows. Series made for other networks entirely, quietly sitting on Netflix with zero promotion, because Netflix has no reason to advertise something it didn't spend its own money producing. Today, 15 series like that. None of them Netflix originals. All of them genuinely worth your time, and all of them currently streaming without a single push notification telling you they're there. An alternate history epic where the Axis powers won the Second World War, built with such disturbing, meticulous detail that it's genuinely hard to shake once you've seen it. An 8-season Emmy-sweeping spy thriller that's widely considered one of the finest dramas of its decade. And a time travel limited series starring James Franco based on a Stephen King novel that took him 5 years to write. 15 series, all hiding in plain sight. Let's go. Number 15. Castle Rock. An anthology horror series set in the fictional Maine town that ties together dozens of Stephen King's novels and stories, with each season built as its own self-contained mystery, populated with characters and locations King fans will recognize from across his entire bibliography.
We got no records of you. How'd you get inside this prison? Who put you down that hole?
The first season follows a mysterious, mute man discovered in a cage beneath Shawshank State Penitentiary. And the second season, centered on a young Annie Wilkes years before Misery, features Lizzie Kaplan giving one of the most unsettling performances of the show's run. Here's what makes Castle Rock genuinely rewarding for horror fans. This isn't a direct adaptation of any single King work. It's an original story built from the connective tissue between dozens of his books, rewarding longtime readers with deep-cut references while remaining completely accessible to viewers who've never read a King novel at all. 2 seasons, both genuinely unsettling, and one of the most creative approaches to adapting an author's entire body of work ever attempted on television. Number 14. The Last Ship. A global pandemic wipes out most of humanity in a matter of weeks.
Aircraft position 76.35 north 0.
A U.S. Navy destroyer isolated at sea during the outbreak becomes one of the last functioning military assets on Earth, and possibly humanity's only chance at developing a cure. 5 seasons total. Eric Dane plays Captain Tom Chandler, commanding a ship that becomes, across the series run, considerably more than a rescue mission. A mobile center of what remains of organized civilization, navigating shifting alliances, hostile nations, and a rebuilding world that keeps testing exactly what the crew is willing to do to hold it together. Based loosely on William Brinkley's novel, with Michael Bay among the executive producers, The Last Ship leans fully into large-scale naval action. Genuinely impressive practical production value for a network series, with a scale that most television dramas of its era couldn't match. What sustained the show across 5 seasons was its willingness to keep escalating the stakes of the post-pandemic world, rather than settling into episodic Monster of the Week plotting. 5 seasons of consistently tense, well-produced naval action drama. Underseen relative to how well-crafted it actually is. Number 13. The Sinner.
What did you do to your parents?
They died.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Your own kid killing?
Bill Pullman plays Detective Harry Ambrose, the connective thread across 4 seasons of this anthology crime series, each one built around an inverted mystery structure. You know who committed the crime from the very first episode. What you don't know is why. The first season, starring Jessica Biel as a young mother who inexplicably murders a stranger on a beach in front of her family, established the show's format. Rather than a whodunit, each season is a slow, psychological excavation of a crime's origin, working backward through trauma and buried memory to understand a motive that makes no immediate sense. Bill Pullman's performance as Ambrose, a detective as damaged and haunted as the people he investigates, anchors an anthology format that could easily have felt disjointed, giving the series a consistent emotional through-line even as the crimes and casts change each season. 4 complete, self-contained mysteries, genuinely underseen relative to how well-constructed each season is. Number 12. Love and Death. Candy Montgomery. A Texas housewife in the late 1970s grows increasingly restless with her quiet suburban life. She begins an affair with her best friend's husband. The wife finds out, and she killed her with an axe, striking her 41 times.
I'm very attracted to you.
Oh.
Would you be interested in having an affair?
David E. Kelley created this limited series, and what makes it genuinely gripping is its patience. The first several episodes are spent almost entirely on the mundane, specific texture of small-town Texan suburban life. Church volleyball, affairs conducted with careful discretion, the particular loneliness of a marriage that has quietly gone flat. Elizabeth Olsen plays Candy with a controlled, unsettling normalcy, never tipping her hand about what she's capable of, right up until the film-quality violence of the murder scene itself, filmed with a brutal, unflinching intensity that the show's slow build makes land even harder. Jesse Plemons, as Candy's husband, gives his usual, quietly devastating supporting work. The trial, when it arrives, becomes a genuine examination of self-defense claims, the specifics of the axe murder itself, and the unsettling gap between a community's image of a person and what they're actually capable of. A meticulously researched true crime series that resists sensationalism in favor of something considerably more disturbing. Total ordinariness, right up until it wasn't. Number 11. Killing Eve.
The lights are on, but you're not home.
I found Villanelle.
I think I might have killed her.
Congratulations.
An MI5 security officer, bored and underestimated in her desk job, becomes obsessed with tracking down a brilliant, glamorous international assassin who kills with genuine artistry and takes an equally intense interest in the woman hunting her. Sandra Oh plays Eve Pilastri. Jodie Comer plays Villanelle in a performance that won her an Emmy and remains one of the most purely magnetic villain performances in modern television. Funny, terrifying, and genuinely unpredictable from scene to scene. Phoebe Waller-Bridge developed this from Luke Jennings' codename Villanelle novellas. And what makes Killing Eve unlike any other spy thriller is the specific magnetic chemistry between its two leads. A cat-and-mouse chase that is genuinely funny, genuinely stylish, and increasingly uncomfortably intimate, blurring the line between hunter and obsession completely. The show's later seasons received a more mixed reception, as the central chase struggled to sustain its own momentum across 4 years. But the highs, particularly across the first 2 seasons, remained some of the most stylish, most purely electric television of the era. A genre-scrambling thriller built entirely on 2 extraordinary performances circling each other. Number 10. Resident Alien.
There's an alien race that's planning on taking over the Earth. And there is only one person who may have the ability to stop them.
After all of that existential dread, here is a show that will make you laugh out loud multiple times per episode, while also somehow making you feel things you weren't expecting about what it means to be human. An alien crash lands in Colorado, assumes the identity of a local doctor, tries to blend in while completing his original mission, destroying humanity. The problem is that the longer he stays, the more he starts to understand, and like the people he came to kill. Alan Tudyk plays Harry Vanderspiegel, and what he does, the deadpan bewilderment, the alien logic applied to human customs, the way he describes ordinary social interactions as if observing a species, he finds simultaneously baffling and fascinating, is some of the finest comedic performance on television in years. But here's what nobody tells you about Resident Alien. It's actually a very tender show, about belonging, about what it feels like to be somewhere you didn't choose, surrounded by people you didn't expect to care about. 4 seasons, beloved by everyone who found it. Most people haven't found it yet. Put it on when you need something that will make you feel better about the world. It will work. Number 9. The Man in the High Castle. It's 1962. Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan won the Second World War. America has been divided between them. The Greater Nazi Reich in the east, the Japanese Pacific states in the west, a lawless neutral zone in between.
What is this?
Newsreel film. It shows us winning the war.
But we didn't win the war.
Based on Philip K. Dick's Hugo Award-winning novel and executive produced by Ridley Scott, this Amazon series builds one of the most fully realized alternate history worlds ever attempted for television. Swastikas over Times Square, a fully functioning Japanese-American occupation government, and an ordinary population that has, disturbingly, adapted to living under it. Rufus Sewell plays a senior Nazi official navigating internal power struggles with a moral complexity the role didn't strictly need to have. Alexa Davalos and Luke Kleintank lead the resistance storyline running through the occupied territories. The series deepens its mythology significantly in later seasons, introducing questions about parallel worlds that some viewers found stretched the premise and others found genuinely earned. A genuinely ambitious, underseen piece of alternate history television. Number 8, 11/22/63.
That was 1960. I need you to go back there to prevent the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
James Franco plays Jake Epping, a high school English teacher who discovers a portal in the back of a diner that leads directly to October 1960 and is convinced by the diner's dying owner to travel back and prevent the assassination of John F. Kennedy 3 years before it happens. Based on Stephen King's novel, which reportedly took him over 5 years to research and write, given the sheer scale of historical detail required, this 8-episode Hulu miniseries follows Jake as he builds an entire new life in the early 1960s, while working toward a single, world-altering objective, discovering along the way that the past, in King's words, is obdurate. It does not want to be changed, and resists every attempt with escalating, dangerous consequences. Here's what makes this show genuinely powerful, beyond its high-concept premise. Jake falls in love during his years undercover in the past, and the show becomes as much about what he's willing to sacrifice, a genuine, hard-won life he's built, as it is about the historical mission he came to complete. A single, complete miniseries. Ambitious, emotional, and one of the finest King adaptations ever produced for television. Number 7, Veronica Mars.
When your best friend is murdered before your 17th birthday, you don't develop a keen sense of mercy.
Kristen Bell plays Veronica Mars, a teenage private investigator in the fictional town of Neptune, California, solving her best friend's murder while navigating a rigid class divide between the town's ultra-wealthy elite and everyone else, all while working cases for her father's PI business. Created by Rob Thomas, this show developed one of the most devoted cult followings in television history, a fan base so committed that when the original series was canceled after 3 seasons, they crowdfunded a feature film continuation years later, followed eventually by a 4th season revival. Here's what makes Veronica Mars extraordinary. Its refusal to treat a teenage detective as a gimmick. The mysteries are genuinely well constructed. The class commentary is sharp and specific to Southern California wealth. The central father-daughter relationship between Veronica and her father Keith is one of the most quietly moving family dynamics in any teen drama. 4 seasons across a 15-year span, and a show that remains one of the most influential teen mystery dramas ever made. Number 6, Dark Winds.
Two people were murdered at the motel last night. But the scene suggests foul play.
1970s Navajo Nation. 2 tribal police officers investigate a double murder that opens into something considerably larger. A conspiracy involving a bank heist, a cult, and secrets that both officers are, in different ways, personally connected to. 4 seasons and counting. Graham Rowland developed with George R.R. Martin and Robert Redford among the executive producers, a pedigree that shows in the series' patient, atmospheric commitment to its setting. Zahn McClernon plays Lieutenant Joe Leaphorn with a controlled, weathered authority, and Kiowa Gordon plays Sergeant Jim Chee, a younger officer navigating his own complicated relationship to tribal tradition and modern law enforcement. What distinguishes Dark Winds is its total specificity about Navajo culture, land, and spirituality, rendered by a predominantly Native American cast and crew with a level of authenticity that crime pro-cazeros set in indigenous communities have historically failed to attempt. Critically acclaimed since its premiere, Dark Winds has built a devoted audience through pure word of mouth. without the marketing push a series of this quality would typically receive. One of the finest, most quietly important crime dramas currently being made. Still running, still criminally underseen. Number 5. Spartacus. A Thracian warrior is betrayed by Rome, enslaved, and sold into a gladiator school in Capua. Trained to kill for the entertainment of the very empire that destroyed his life and took his freedom, he will lead the largest slave rebellion in Roman history. Created by Stephen S. DeKnight and executive produced by Sam Raimi, this Starz series became known for its extraordinarily stylized, slow-motion violence and unapologetic excess. And beneath the spectacle, a genuinely well-constructed story of oppression, loyalty, and rebellion inside the brutal machinery of the Roman arena. Andy Whitfield originated the role in the first season, before a cancer diagnosis forced his departure. Liam McIntyre took over for the remaining seasons, completing the story after Whitfield's death in 2011. His blessing to continue the show without him is part of what makes the production's history as compelling as the show itself. 3 seasons plus a prequel. Bloody, unrelenting, and one of the most purely intense historical epics ever made for television. Number 4. Animal Kingdom.
A cop died, Baz. A cop.
A teenage boy, orphaned after his mother's overdose, moves in with his estranged grandmother and her 3 adult sons. A family of career criminals in Southern California, running an escalating series of increasingly dangerous jobs under the terrifying, controlling matriarchy of Smurf, played by Ellen Barkin. Based on the acclaimed Australian film of the same name, this 6-season series builds an entire criminal ecosystem around Smurf's psychological control over her sons. Grown men who remain, in every meaningful way, still children under their mother's thumb. The ensemble of brothers, each with their own specific damage, their own specific relationship to their mother's control, gives the show a genuine Shakespearean family tragedy quality underneath the heist mechanics, with betrayals and alliances shifting across 6 seasons in ways that feel earned rather than manufactured for the sake of extending the run. Ellen Barkin's performance as Smurf is one of the most unsettling matriarchal villains in recent television. Warm and predatory in the same breath, wielding maternal love as a weapon with total precision. 6 seasons of escalating criminal tension anchored by a genuinely disturbing family dynamic that never lets up. Number 3. Broadchurch. David Tennant and Olivia Colman play 2 detectives, thrown together as reluctant partners, investigating the murder of an 11-year-old boy in a small, close-knit seaside town in Dorset. A crime that, episode by episode, forces open every secret held by nearly everyone who lives there. Created by Chris Chibnall, this ITV series became a genuine cultural phenomenon in the UK, drawing a peak audience of nearly 9 million viewers for its first season finale, and winning multiple BAFTA awards, including Best Drama Series. Here's what makes Broadchurch one of the finest murder mysteries ever made for television. The show is less interested in the killer's identity than in the collective devastation a single crime inflicts on an entire community. Every relationship, every friendship, every fragile social bond in the town tested and often broken by suspicion and grief. Olivia Colman's performance as D.S. Ellie Miller won her a BAFTA and remains one of the finest performances of her career, years before her Oscar win for The Favourite. 3 seasons of devastating, meticulously constructed British crime drama anchored by 2 of the finest actors working today. Number 2. STARGATE SG-1.
But their order's just the same, and I, for one, follow orders.
Even though we are the only line of defense protecting this planet.
A U.S. Air Force team discovers a network of ancient alien portals capable of instant travel to other planets across the galaxy, and spends the next decade exploring, fighting, and allying with the civilizations they find on the other side. Richard Dean Anderson leads this 10-season series, spun off from the 1994 film, and it remains one of the most beloved, most enduring science fiction franchises in television history. Consistently smart, frequently funny, and genuinely ambitious in its world-building across 214 episodes. Here's what makes STARGATE SG-1 worth the enormous time investment. This is a show that rewards commitment. Story threads planted in early seasons pay off years later. The show's mythology, spanning ancient civilizations, rival alien empires, and multiple spin-off series, was built with a patience and internal consistency that few science fiction franchises of any era have matched. 10 seasons, over 200 episodes. If you're looking for a show that will occupy an entire year of your watching time and never once run dry on new ideas, this is it. Number 1. Homeland.
Previously on Homeland.
Claire Danes plays Carrie Mathison, a brilliant, unstable CIA officer convinced that a U.S. Marine rescued after years held captive by Al-Qaeda and hailed as a national hero has actually been turned into a sleeper agent working against his own country. Alex Gansa and Howard Gordon developed Homeland, adapted from the Israeli series Hatufim. And across 8 seasons, the show evolved considerably, from a tense, intimate character study of Carrie and Brody into a sprawling geopolitical thriller spanning Pakistan, Berlin, Russia, and the Afghanistan withdrawal, without ever losing Carrie's psychology as its central engine. Claire Danes' performance as a woman whose brilliance and bipolar disorder are inseparable from each other is one of the finest sustained performances in television history. Genuinely unstable, genuinely brilliant, and never once simplified into either hero or unreliable narrator alone. Damian Lewis, as the Marine at the center of Carrie's suspicion, delivers a performance of extraordinary ambiguity across the show's first season, keeping the central question of his loyalty genuinely uncertain for as long as the show can sustain it. 8 seasons of prestige espionage drama anchored by one of the finest lead performances. This is not just the best hidden show on this list, it's one of the finest television dramas of the last 15 years, sitting quietly in Netflix's catalog with almost no one talking about it. That's the end of our today's list, 15 series. None of them Netflix originals. All of them genuinely worth your time, sitting there completely unpromoted. Now I want to hear from you. How many of these series did you already know were streaming on Netflix? Which one are you planning to watch first? And how many have you already seen? Let me know in the comments. I put a lot of extra effort into finding these hidden, non-Netflix original gems to bring you recommendations you don't usually see on YouTube. So if you genuinely enjoyed this video and discovered something new, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really motivates me to keep finding the best recommendations that most people never hear about. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.